expert migration panels from all over Australia. We got Vaibhav joining us from Sydney. Good afternoon, Vaibhav.
Good afternoon.
We got Rajan joining us from Perth, all the way WA. Good afternoon, Rajan.
Good afternoon, Tejas.
And we got Malay from Brisbane. Hello, Malay. And we got
Hi, everyone.
joining us from Melbourne as well. How are you, Kunal?
I'm good, thanks.
All right. In today's topic, we will be covering up quickly regarding the reopening of the Victorian State Nomination 190, 491 programs. Also, the Western Australia's reopening of the state migration programs 190 and 491, and also some updates from New South Wales regarding the state nomination, and also updates from Tasmania. And Malay will also cover up the quarterly invitation, which are expected on 11th of January 2021, which is very soon, and what to expect in that invitation round. So let's start with that quarterly invitation expected updates first from Malay, and then we move on to the state updates later on, and then we take some question and answers. So Malay, what do you got for our viewers basically for this?
So Tejas, thank you everyone. So this is Malay here. I'm from Aussizz Group Brisbane, and I'm a registered migration agent. So as per the department update, we have got a recent update, like they are going to do the quarterly invitation round from this month. So usually they were doing like every month, 11th of every month they were doing the invitation round. But from this month they have started the new thing, like they are going to do it quarterly. So every 3 months they are going to do the invitation round. So first invitation round for this quarterly invitation round is going to come in 11th of January. That's what we are predicting at the moment. So it will be on Sunday night, like the Monday morning. And the next invitation round will be held on the April 2021. So like for the update, we can say for the invitation round, like so far they have issued only 1,000 invitations for subclass 189 and only 420 invitations for the 491 family street. Total quota, if we look into the quota for this current financial year 2020 and 2021, the total quota is almost 6,000 quota for the current financial year. So they have only used for last 6 months only 1,400 quota, but still there are 4,600 quota left. So we can see the big invitation round will be going to come in this like upcoming week. So we are expecting like almost 1,500 to 2,000 invitations will be going to come for 189 and subclass 491 family street. So now the big question is who will get the invitations and what are the occupations they are going to give the priority. So as we can see, this most of the states are giving priority to the critical sectors, which covers the IT and engineering and the registered nurse or any other medical occupations. So there is a very good chance if you're coming under the ICT occupations or the engineering occupation or the medical occupation, including the registered nurse, even if you have less point, there is some chance for the registered nurse or maybe for the general practitioners to get an invite. But if you are ICT or engineering graduate, most probably you need to have 95 or 90 points to get an invite. Like this is the invitation now going to be happen for the first time. Like so far there was no any ICT or engineering invitations happen for this financial year. So definitely for 95 points applicants, there is a very good chance to get an invite who are waiting since last 1 year. Since they happen for this financial, they may get an invite soon. And with the 90 points, they may have to wait for the next invitation round, for which will be held in April this year. So let's hope for the best, everyone. And most of the invitations will be coming for this case, which is 17 or 18 occupation, which will be released, which is released by the department. But there are a few other occupations like the civil engineer, structural engineer, telecom engineer, and the business analyst or systemized occupation. There is a very good chance to be receive an invite for that particular occupations as well.
Well, so I guess we understand that the more priorities will be given to the occupation which are more in demand with the job market in current situation around COVID. So if you see more jobs being advertised in your occupation, then there is high chance department might invite your occupation there on the 189, because Department of Home Affairs also work very closely with Department of the employment and further departments in the government to decide what's the migration outlook look like, as in what occupation they will be inviting, how many numbers they want to invite as well as per the current advertised jobs around Australian job market. So thanks, Malay, for the update. Let's go to Sydney. So Vaibhav, what do you got for 190 and 491 for our viewers, as in when New South Wales will be opening, what kind of occupation you're expecting? Are you expecting any changes or not?
Thank you very much, Tejas. Hello, everyone. Yes, so for subclass 190 in NSW, they have announced the occupation list, which is the priority list for 190 New South Wales. And most of the occupations included are IT-related occupations like ICT business analyst, systems analyst, developer programmer, analyst programmer, software engineers. Also nursing occupations, most of the nursing occupations are covered as well. And some of the engineering occupations are covered, right? But the requirement right now is that you have to be living in New South Wales. It doesn't say like in the past, it used to say that you have to be living in New South Wales for 6 months. It's no longer there. So the only requirement is you have to be living in New South Wales. There's no specific time for how long you have to be living there. And again, every month the NSW Treasury Department will conduct the invitation rounds. And based on, obviously you're ranked based on your score, English language ability, as well as number of years of experience. While the work experience is not compulsory in any of these occupations, but priority will be given to the people who have got the 1 year of experience or relevant experience for a longer time. For subclass 491, it's it's a good news and bad news both, because not include the occupation list is not very long, but at the same time the occupation list again includes most of nursing occupation, IT, and engineering occupations. Now in 491 nominations, the criteria will remain the same for the entire state, but the nominations will be processed and the occupation list will change depending on the regional area. So there are 7 to 8 regions basically. So if your occupation is on that region's list and you meet this, any of the state nomination criteria, which is like for subclass 491, they have few categories. Number one is whether if you have been living and working in the regional New South Wales for 12 months. Number two is if you have completed a study in regional New South Wales, but again, you have to complete the study in the same region where you have completed the study. So let's say if your occupation is on new hunters list, but you completed a study from Illawarra region, then you wouldn't really qualify to apply for the hunter region, because they might not accept your application because you completed the study in Illawarra region. Then the second criteria is that there is one more option for onshore students or onshore applicants is if you have a job offer. Doesn't matter you're living in a regional New South Wales or outside regional New South Wales. So while the criteria says that you have to be outside regional New South Wales, but we have confirmed with the NSW department that the people who are living and working in the regional New South Wales, let's say somebody's living in regional New South Wales for 3 months only and working in their nominated occupation. So they will fall under the first criteria, which is living and working 12 months, but they have not completed the 12 months. So in that case, they can still access the category 3A, which is the job offer. So if you have a job offer, simply what you need to do is just with that job offer, apply for nomination. And in fact, you'll be given a priority because you're already living and working in the regional New South Wales. One more option is if you have a relative living in a regional New South Wales for more than 24 months, which is 2 years, or if you have a relative who's living on a 489 visa or 491 visa, who has been nominated by NSW government for this 489 or 491 visa, and they've been living in the regional New South Wales for 2 years, they can also qualify as an eligible relative. But the relative has to be your close relative, which is either first cousin or uncle or aunt or real brother sisters. And one more option you have is for offshore applicants. So if you are offshore and you have 5 years of experience and your occupation appears on any of the regions list, like let's say, for example, software engineer is on some regions list and you have 5 years of experience and you're offshore, you can simply apply for a nomination based on that as well. So basically for onshore applicants, if your occupation is on the regions list, simply try and find the job offer in your nominated occupation and you can start the work right now. And as soon as the applications open in February, you can apply for a state nomination for 491 as well. So this is all about the NSW state nomination. And we are quite hopeful and very excited about the new nomination applications opening up very soon. So definitely, we wish luck for everybody who's intending to apply, whether with us or themselves. Thank you.
Thanks, Vaibhav. And for the offshore applications, do you think they will consider offshore application with current scenario of borders not being open and stuff?
Yes, because it's already on the list. So definitely the offshore applicants can apply, because if you see the criteria on a 491 visa, they have clearly mentioned that we will be commencing the nomination for all of these categories. And the criteria is very clear that if you're offshore, you just need 5 years of work experience and your occupation has to be in the regions list. So definitely there is nothing mentioned that they will not be inviting offshore applicants.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, thanks, Vaibhav. Let's go to all the way to Western Australia, because they have announced their occupation list and all the criteria recently within this week itself, I believe. So let's hear from Rajan. What you got, Rajan, for our viewers regarding Western Australia's 190 or 491 visa programs?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Well, it's mostly mixed news from WA, but it's mostly good news. Now, the good news is that WA has finally reopened after a sabbatical of almost 7 months. So hopefully they're going to reissue invitations on the 3rd Thursday of this month. So the good news is also that most of the occupations on the WA occupation list have come back, except for some. I'm going to talk about those occupations in a minute. So we've got most of the engineering occupations on the list. We've got most of the ICT occupations on the list. We've got chef on the list. We've got restaurant manager on the list. So most of these are very popular occupations are still there on the list. And we are hoping that they'll start getting invites from this month itself. Now, the bad news is that the accounting occupations, most of the accounting, whether it be taxation accountant or management accountant or accountant general, they have been taken off the list. Most of the teachers have been taken off the list. But other than these two categories, all of the occupations which were there on the WA list earlier in the last financial year are still there. So even for the accountants and the teachers, they've written closed in front of those occupations. We are really hoping that, well, this year, as we all know, is not a normal year. States are only inviting as per the critical demands in these circumstances. So we are really hoping that these occupations will come back, and they could come back anytime, really. But we are really hoping that they could come back next year, in the next financial year. Yeah, so the state criteria still remains the same, which is that you have to be, there are still 2 streams in WA state nomination. Under the graduate stream, you have to be studying in WA for at least 2 years. You have to have 7 each in IELTS or PTE for all the managerial occupations and all the occupations which belong to skill level 1. For chef, you can even have 6 each. So that still remains the same as was before under the graduate stream. Well, another good news is under the general stream, most of the nurses were under review. They've removed it from under review and they brought them as available. But the general stream criteria still remains the same, where you have to have experience of at least 1 year in Australia or 3 years overseas before you can nominate yourself for that occupation. Now, registered nurse NEC is still not there under the general stream. So we've only got specialized nurses under the general stream, which is nurses like perioperative, mental health, community services, etc. So yeah, so if somebody has an experience of 1 year, they can even nominate, they can get a skills assessment for these specialized nurses from ANMAC and nominate themselves under the general stream as well. Unfortunately, registered nurse is not still there under the graduate work stream. So nurses who have recently graduated from Western Australia are still not eligible because that occupation is still not there for them under the graduate stream in WA. So we are we are still hoping that nurses will come back to WA in the next financial year as well. Another 2 things to be mindful of. WA is only inviting people who are living in Australia, and people who are living in Australia and are Section 48 barred, which essentially means if somebody has had their visa refused and is on a bridging visa, they would not be eligible for WA state nomination anymore until obviously this thing changes and they update their website. But at the moment, only onshore people are eligible, and people who are affected by Section 48 will not be eligible for state nomination. So yeah, as I said, it's mostly good news from WA. All the occupations are back. So I would really advise everybody to put up their EOIs if they haven't done so already. Obviously, the contract for employment criteria still remains the same. So everybody under the graduate work stream will need a contract of employment for 6 months employment, unless they've got 6 months previous experience in their nominated occupation. And under the general stream, they'll need a contract of employment of at least 12 months future employment, which should be full-time as well. So that criteria remains the same. And under the accounting category, we've still got one occupation on the list, which is finance manager. Now, people who've done their Masters of Commerce or Masters of Professional Accounting from WA, they all could get skills assessment for this occupation, which is finance manager. But it might be a little bit hard to find a job in this occupation because it's a corporate level position. But still, if you try hard enough, I'm pretty sure you'd be able to get the employers who are willing to employ you. And that way you can still nominate yourself as finance manager under the WA state. So yeah, just put up the EOIs as soon as possible, people who are eligible. And once you get invited, you'll have 28 days to give documents to WA, including the offer letter. So file your EOIs as soon as possible, really.
Thanks, Rajan. While there, just one question regarding the general stream category. Can the interstate registered nurses can apply the WA state nomination, or they need to be working in WA as well?
Well, anybody can apply in WA, whether they're living in WA or interstate, as long as they are in Australia. They can have that 1 year Australian work experience requirement from anywhere in Australia as well, but they need an offer letter of employment and from an employer based in regional WA, because most of the nurses which are on the general stream, under the general stream, they have to have an offer letter from an employer who's based out of Perth and Mandurah in WA. So they cannot be in metropolitan Perth. They have to have an offer letter from an employer based in regional WA. That's all.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for that. Thanks for clarifying. No let's hear from Kunal from Victoria. I think Victoria has already announced their strategy for next 6 months until June regarding 190 and 491 visa program. So Kunal, can you share some info about what occupation you can expect for 190 and 491 out of Victoria state nomination programs?
Yes, sure. Thanks, Tejas. Hi, everyone. So I am one of the migration agents from Melbourne CBD branches on Collins Street. Yes, Victoria on the for this, the remaining of June, and they have announced the requirements in terms of 491, which is the regional sponsored visa, as well as the 190, which is the state nomination. So this is in line with the interim allocation or the interim requirements which they announced earlier in September last year, wherein they have got around 600 seats for 190 and 200 seats for 491. So in total now, Victoria has got around 3,500 seats with them, wherein they've got 2,500 seats for 190 and around 1,000 seats for 491. So pretty much the last update we saw in December, they have only around 300 to 400 applicants so far, under the application for both the streams. So definitely there is a good chance for people to receive invitations from Victoria based on the number of invitations they have issued so far. Now, I'll basically give you the update on what are the requirements, because the requirements are different for 190 and the requirements are different for 491. So starting with 190, Victoria has mentioned about, that there is a requirement for you to be living in Victoria. So if you want to apply for the Victorian state nomination now, you have to be living in Victoria. You must be living here for the last 6 months. You must also be working in your nominated occupation for the last 6 months. The most important requirement is that the occupation you must be working in, you have to demonstrate that occupation must be contributing towards health, medical research, or life sciences sector. So the idea here is not basically, to only focus on medical occupations, but in any occupation, if you're working and contributing towards these sectors, then you can apply. So health, medical research, and life sciences obviously have been in demand across Australia due to the pandemic even. And the focus has always been, to make sure that this part of the skilled migration is taken care of during this time. So the program is obviously until June this year. And as I mentioned that, the focus is onto these sectors. But if you are working into any occupations, be it IT, be it accounting, be it engineering, and you can demonstrate that you are contributing towards these sectors, you can make an application. Now, this was in line with what they have come up in the interim phase as well, wherein they were focusing onto the medical sector. But they have invited quite a few other occupations, such as in IT, they have invited software engineers, they have invited business analysts. And in other occupations, we have got invitations for pharmacy technicians, we've got invitations for chemists. So again, you have to see which all occupations are eligible for 190 visa. And if you have, if you're meeting the minimum requirements of having a skill assessment in that nominated occupation, minimum of 65 points you have got, in the points test. And then you are meeting the requirements I've just mentioned, that is 6 months of employment in Victoria and proving your residency for 6 months in Victoria and the contribution towards the sectors I stated, then you can definitely apply. Now with life sciences, obviously, you can look at life sciences a wider field. So if you are contributing to any of these specific sectors which falls into life sciences, then you can obviously consider applying for this for 190 application. The good thing is, they will have the window open for both 491 and 190 every month. So they will let you allow for, for a week in every month, and the dates have been finalized. So in January, they will be open from the 5th of January till the 11th of January. And they will be selecting all the applicants who have applied on the 22nd of January. And so is the case every month from January onwards, that they will be opening the window for applicants to put through their registration application, which you need to apply from within that window period. And then within the same month, they will have the selection day wherein they will invite those applicants. So it is going to be running until May, for which they have given the time period, the dates as well. And if you would believe that you're not eligible yet, or you would be meeting your experience requirements in the coming months, you can definitely consider this as an option, because as I said, there are still plenty to cover. They haven't given too many seats so far. So definitely you stand a good chance if you are meeting the specific requirements. So that was for 190. With respect to 491, there are additional sectors, and the minimum requirement is also very less comparative to what it was in the interim phase. So if you're willing to apply for 491, all you need to meet is you must be living for 3 months in regional Victoria. You must be working for those 3 months in the nominated occupation. And you also have to prove that you are working in a highly skilled occupation, which definitely cover those 3 sectors, which is health, medical research, and life sciences. Along with that, they have also added sectors of agriculture and food, wherein you're working into any agricultural occupation or food manufacturing occupation, you can still consider to apply. They have also considered, or they've also included digital sector in there. So definitely anyone who is into IT or pretty much into engineering, and they are their jobs are related to the digital sectors, and they can demonstrate that they are contributing to these sectors. All in all, you have to show that while you're working into these sectors, you are helping the Victorian state in their economic recovery or recovering from this pandemic. But the requirement is, as I said, pretty less for 3 months. So if in case you have been working for 3 months and consider, you're living in regional as well, or you believe you do not meet those requirements as of now, you still have the window for the next 3 months, because this is going to be open until, the end of this financial year. So the last dates until which you can apply would be in the month of May, which is 10th of May. If you meet the requirements, you can, but if you would want to meet this 3 months requirement, you can still work towards that requirement and can apply until 10th of May. And on the 21st of May, they will have the final round for this financial year. So all in all, a good news for a lot of people. As I said, there are no set occupations. We do get a lot of inquiries from clients wherein they specify, we don't work as a nurse, we are not a doctor. Are we still eligible? Yes, you can apply as far as you can demonstrate your contribution towards these sectors. Then you can consider, and they will have their selection days on which they will be picking up, the most appropriate applicants according to the criteria they have set.
Right. So I think it's all about how you build up your case, as in how you support your occupation with the guideline of economical recovery for Victorian economy, I guess.
Absolutely, yes.
Right. Yeah. Thanks, Kunal. Let's go to Malay. Malay, do you have anything to share from Queensland regarding 190 or 491 visa?
Definitely, Tejas. So Queensland is going to open for 190 and 491 visa. like they have given the date for end of this month, so like 25th of January, that's what the date is given. And they have given the quota as well. For the 190, it's 1,000 quota, and for 491, it's a 1,200 quota. So out of this quota, they have used 200 quota for the both subclass for the as an interim quota. So they still have 800 quota left for one subclass 190 visa and 1,000 quota left for the subclass 491 visa. So we are expecting many invitations to become for the next, like whenever the Queensland will be going to open again. But like as Kunal mentioned, like you have to show the eligibility, like how you helping the Australian economy by working in the critical sector. So you need to send an email to the BSMQ with the case by case, and like they like you have to send an email to the BSMQ regarding the how you are helping the ocean economy by working in the critical sector. And on the case by case, they're going to give an invite for the BSMQ state nomination. So like everyone can apply, but not everyone is getting the invite. So it depending on the case by case. And we are hopefully like recently Queensland has mentioned like only 80 points applicants will get an invite for subclass 190. So most of the applicants are like trying to get higher points to get the invite as well, because there are too many applicants who are not getting the subclass 189 visa. They are heading towards the subclass 190 visa. So there are many applicants who are applying, but the quota is like very limited quota they have. So yes, you have to have a higher points to get an invitation for subclass 190. But yeah, for the 491 visa, there is still, even if you have 65 points, you may receive an invite. And most probably they are going to give an invite for the critical sectors only, but they can give the invite if you are still working in the part of the eligible sectors.
Thanks, Malay. To be honest, out of these all updates from the biggest state, the smallest state which surprised me the most is Tasmania. If you look at the allocations they've been getting for 190 and 491 program, they've got pretty much 1,400 allocations for 491 and 1,000 allocation for 190 program, which is 2,400 in total. And only 25% approximate has been invited. So only 600 has been used. They still have around 1,800 space left for 190 and 491 programs for the rest of the financial year, which is only 5 months. So if you're working in regional area like Tasmania and meeting the requirement, you have very, very good chance to get the 190 or 491 nomination this financial year because of the still massive increase of still a good amount of ceiling still remaining with them to nominate the applicants in 190 or 491 program. With Tasmania, they're expecting to reopen their general occupation and the normal requirements by end of January. As of now, they're still operating through interim allocation process where they're only prioritizing as per the Department of Home Affairs guideline, the medical occupation, the transportations, the manufacturing, the agriculture, all the occupation which are very critical to Australian economy, they are focusing on those occupations itself. Cook and chef is also part of the interim allocation for Tasmania because there is a shortage of cooks and chefs in Tasmania. So if you're working in Tasmania, in one of those occupations or working towards economical recovery of Tasmanian economy, it might help you to get the state nomination in next 4 months or 5 months until May or June, because they still have massive number of allocations left for their 190 or 491 visa programs. Coming from South Australia's point of view, we are still waiting for the Immigration SA to announce how they will be opening up their 190 and 491. But we are also expecting them to open up the general occupations by end of this month. So aligned with all the states across Australia, we're expecting most of the state will start operating or opening up the migration program for 190 and 491 by end of January. So we should have a bit of relaxation, a bit of updates from all the states. More information for all our viewers regarding the state nomination, the criteria, so you can plan your future, what you need to do. If you have to move around or you will be applying for the state nomination in your state itself, you'll have a clear picture by end of January when all the states will be opening up their programs. We'll have a clear picture until at least July. But viewers, keep in mind that every July, obviously the new financial year kicks in, every state will re-strategize their migration program. So they will relook at the job availability in their states as an economical requirement, and they will also reassign or they will redesign their occupation list as well. So even if your occupation is not on the list right now, there is very, very good chance it might come back in July, because in July, the situation for economy could be different. The job outlook or job market would be different. So as Rajan mentioned earlier, its accountant has been taken off from WA list, but there's a chance it may come back in July update, when they relaunch their program for 2021 to 22. So you do not need to get disappointed. Obviously, you have to keep look around, keep yourself updated with all the migration updates with us, and we can help you out. Vaibhav, if you want to take up some questions from Facebook Live, we can assist our viewers who have posted some of the questions.
Yeah, sure. So we have some questions, obviously, from Facebook and other channels as well. We'll quickly cover a few of the questions because I hope, I think I understand that we have a time limit but we have around 20 minutes left or so, and we have got more than, I think, almost 100 or more than 100 comments on already. So let's start working on it. So the first question is from Peter. Peter, so the question is, what are the chances for nurses in MSW for 190 with 85 points? So Peter, I'll take this question for you. So the chances for 190 with 85 points, I would say for nurses, is still bright, because if you see the NSW state nomination criteria and the occupation list, is very short. So obviously there are only limited occupations, IT, nursing, and some of the engineering occupation. So the chances are that there are chances that the cutoff will go down even with the 189 as well. So yes, your chances would be pretty much in the middle. The next question is from Manohar Karti. So Manohar's question is from Victoria. So Kunal, the question is for you. So the question is, can you explain 190 for engineering technology in Victoria? So basically the client's question is that, do you think they have any chances for 190 in Victoria with engineering technologies?
Yes, so Manohar, for 190, as I mentioned, the occupation is of, that's not of importance here. If you are basically working even as an engineering technologist or a professional engineer, and you can demonstrate that you're contributing to these three sectors, which I did mention, that it's health, medical research, or life sciences. So if you're working in any of these sectors for the last 6 months and living in Victoria, you can definitely apply for, state nomination. All you need to do is have to show that how is your contribution there in those sectors, and pretty much how are you basically helping Victoria from the pandemic and the economic recovery. So specification of occupations is not there. So definitely, if you are working and you can demonstrate that, there may be a possibility the state would invite you.
Right. Thank you, Kunal. So there is one more question for you, Kunal, from Inzamam Imtiaz. So the question is, what are the chances for 190 Victoria for ICT security specialist at 100 points?
Right, I believe that is basically for the state nomination, or is it for
190 Victoria? Yeah. So
190. Okay. See, pretty much it's 190 is not focused completely on points itself. But yes, if you have higher points along meeting the requirements of the state, definitely they would prioritize your application, considering that you have got superior English, because states have lately come up with criteria such as New South Wales have clearly mentioned that they would be looking for someone who has got superior English. So when you have higher points, or you have along with meeting the state nomination requirements, you definitely have an edge over other applicants in the same occupation. But the key remains the contribution to the economic recovery or the pandemic recovery. So you still have to show 6 months of employment, and you have to show how you're contributing to the three sectors which I just mentioned.
Right. Thank you, Kunal. And I guess with Victoria, ICT is easy to justify, because people are working from home in Victoria as well for last 6 months or more, and the companies really need security specialists as well, because when you give an access to work from home, the requirement for security also increases for the companies, right? Because for data protection. So I guess it's easily justifiable as well for IT students. So the next question is for Tasmania. It's from Jatinder Singh. So Tejas, if you can take this. So his question is, hi, could you please tell me when will Tasmania open for lodging an application?
So Tasmania is already open, as in accepting the application if you're already working in a critical sector occupations. But for general occupations, they will be opening up by end of January. So if you're already working towards some of those occupations where it helps with the Tasmanian economy recovery and also the transportation, it's mentioned on the website as well. Some of the occupations like infrastructure engineering or essential goods, medical technology, agriculture technology or also the medical and registered nurses and stuff, then you can expect an invite. But for general occupations, they're expecting around 28th of January. So it's third week of January. We're expecting Tasmania to open the migration program.
Thank you very much, Tejas. There is one more question, if you can take, Tejas, which is from Rasila. The question is, what are the chances for family sponsorship visa in WA? Sorry, so I'll probably ask Rajan to look after this question. So Rajan, the question is from Rasila. What are the chances for family sponsored visa in WA? Around 90 points. Is it mandatory to have a bachelor degree? Sorry, Rajan, I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Well, for the family-sponsored visa, the criteria for WA remains the same, which is you should have an eligible relative, and your occupation should be on the MLT SSL list. So it is not required whether you have a bachelor's or a diploma, as long as you've got a skills assessment for an occupation which is on the MLT SSL list, and you've got an eligible relative, you would be eligible for the family-sponsored 491 visa. Now at 90 points, I would say the chances are very high for the 491 visa, but they're talking about 90 points on their own, or whether they're including the 15 points that they normally get from the relative. Well, if they're including the 15 points from the relative, the chances are not as bright. But if somebody has got 90 points, be it any occupation, I think the chances are pretty high that they will get invited sooner or later for the family sponsor, under the family sponsored stream.
Right. Thank you very much for that, Rajan. There is one more question from Sunny. That's for 190 New South Wales. What is the probable date for invitation this month for New South Wales? Sunny, generally the NSW government conducts the invitation round at the end of the month, and pretty much last week. So I would say somewhere around between 25th to 30th of January, somewhere there they should conduct the invitation now. Now, the next question is from Dinesh. His question is that my wife has done RN in Western Australia. Is there any chances this will come on a PR list in WA, or we need to move another state like Tasmania or MSW? Sir, Rajan, over to you again.
Sorry, could you just repeat the question?
So his wife has done RN in Western Australia. Is there any chances this will come on a PR list in Western Australia, or we need to move to another state like Tasmania or MSW?
Well, a registered nurse, as I said earlier, that some of the specialized nursing occupations are still there under the general stream in WA. For those streams, obviously, you need to have 1 year of Australian experience or 3 years of overseas experience. But if you've recently graduated, unfortunately, at the moment, WA state nomination is not an option for you. Now, whether it could come back to WA, we are really hoping that it would come back in the next financial year. When they actually come up with a new list, obviously, but moving to another state could be an option as well, as most of the states are inviting registered nurses at the moment. So if you as others have already said, if you meet certain criteria, like if you've been living and working in Canberra, let's say for 3 months, or living and working in South Australia for 3 months or 6 months in Victoria, you may have a chance of getting an invite from other states, as most of the states are inviting nurses there. Depending on the specific criteria that they have. So yeah, if you want to move to another state and fulfill that criteria, that would not be a bad option either, because at the end of the day, you'll be getting some experience as a registered nurse in other states as well. And if WA reopens, you can always apply for WA sitting in another state as well, because there's no specific criteria where WA requires you to be in WA at the time you apply for the WA state nomination. So you can even apply for the WA state nomination while you're sitting in another state if WA brings this occupation on its graduate list.
Thank you very much, Rajan, for that. So Malay, if you can take this question. Aditya Rane is asking, is there a big January invitation round for 189 this month?
Yes, Aditya, we are expecting like almost 1,500 to 2,000 invitation for the January invitation round for subclass 189 and 491 family members.
Right. Thank you very much for that, Malay. Now there's a question coming in from Maria. Sorry that you're only answering the newest questions, not the oldest one. Sorry, Maria, we have a very, limited time now because we are scheduled to do a live from 5 to 6. So we're just trying to take as many questions as we can. I understand that the old questions are not being taken care of because they have gone up on our list, but we will definitely answer all the questions by replying to your comments later on after we finish this. But we will try to cover as much as we can now. If you like, you can repost your question and I'll take it now. That's not a problem. So the next question is from Upeka. The question is sorry, I've just lost the question. So what are the chances for accounting in ACT for 491 with 110 points? So Tejas, would you be able to take this?
Yes, sure, Vaibhav. But unfortunately, I think you still have to meet the point test requirement with the ACT as they have their own metrics. And I would not expect accountants to get invite in current situation from Canberra in current arrangements. It really depends on the metrics points because if you talk about 110 points through skill select either from 491 relative sponsorship or 491 state sponsorship, then it might not be 110 points on metrics. So I really need to know how many points we have on the ACT.
110. So he has mentioned 110, but we are not sure whether it's Canberra metrics.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So it's skill select points or ACT metric points. That's what we have to understand basically. But from 491 point of view, I think they're inviting all the ACT applicants with 65 or higher points. But as an accountant, I would not expect an invite as in current situation.
Thank you very much, Tejas. So the question from Maria is there any chance for NSW 190 ICT business analyst 95 points and 5 years of experience overseas? So Maria, yes, your chances are very bright if you have 95 points and 5 years of experience. The reason is because NSW always prioritize people based on the points, their English language ability, which is like if you have 8 each or so, and the number of years of experience basically. So if you have more experience, that means your chances are brighter because when there are two candidates, let's say with the same points, but one has more experience, they get selected first. So yes, your chances are brighter comparatively. So I would say yes, 95 points is not really bad. The next question is from Govardhan Reddy. I applied for 190 NSW for a computer network and systems engineer with 90 points and working in the same occupation for 2 months. So what are the chances? Govardhan, the chances for 90 points, I wouldn't say that it's really bright because there are a lot of candidates with 95 plus points. So I believe that the cutoff will probably be at higher points, but you should know, or probably you will come to know by the end of this month. And then you can always, try and work out your points depending on what, what is the cutoff in this month. So the next question is from Banik. So the question is, what are the chances for chef in NSW and Western Australia? So I'll take the question for NSW. For Western Australia, for NSW, the chances are not really bright because your occupation is not on the Western New South Wales list. For Western Australia, Rajan, if you can take this question.
Well, yeah, for Western Australia, the chances for chef are really bright. As the state has recently come up with the list and chef is still there. So, and also the WA hospitality sector is really booming at the moment. And I think the chef will remain in the list for quite some time. So all you have to do is fulfill this, as part of your qualifications, all of the chefs have to do 1 year work experience in able to get the skills assessment. So after you would have done that, you would already fulfill the criteria for the 6 months work experience that is required for the chef occupation for Western Australia. So yeah, as soon as you get your skills assessment, put up an EOI for Western Australia, and your chances are really bright that you get invited. Obviously, there's no harm in scoring as many points as you possibly can, because one never knows what the points cutoff is going to be. But yeah, still, the chances are really bright, looking good for the occupation chef in WA.
Right. Thank you very much for that, Rajan. So the next question is, we are actually really bombarded with the questions. So I'll just take a few more questions and we can close off because it's already almost six actually. So the question is from Rajveer. So what are the chances of accountants later this year? Anybody can voluntarily take this question?
I can put in my views, but in current situation, to be honest, obviously most of the trades are more focused on medical and manufacturing related occupations. So again, you have to keep in mind your location, as in where you are right now. Let's say if you talk about Melbourne, Sydney, or a metropolitan city, then accountant, not really good chance. But if you are working in a regional cities or a smaller towns, then you still have a good chance for the state nomination. Even though accounting is not really on a critical for most of the occupation, but it depends how you build up your case for the state nomination, and if your occupation as an accountant remains on the state nomination list or not. A lot of states like South Australia, Tasmania, Northern Territory, occupation list is very critical for their migration programs, right? So they will be keeping all those occupations, including accounting, on the list. They might just change around the entry requirements, as in experience requirement for a nomination point of view. But from accounting's point of view, keeping in those lists will be there. So you just have to work around the eligibility requirement. But next 2 years, I think it's going to be a bit difficult for you.
Right. Thank you very much, Tejas. And let's take the last question. So so the last question is from Ram. Should chef has to have been living there to apply as a chef, or can apply directly with an offer letter if he is in Victoria? So Rajan, again, the question is for you. For a chef who is living in Victoria, can they apply for Western Australia with the job offer?
Well, yes, but chef occupation is under the graduate stream, which means that you have to study in WA for at least 2 years to be eligible for WA nomination. So yeah, if you've studied in WA for 2 years and then moved to Victoria, it doesn't matter, as long as you can still nominate yourself. You just need an offer letter for 6 months employment in WA after you've had your 1 year, after you've done your 1 year work experience and got your skills assessment. So a 2 year study in WA is a must for WA state nomination.
Thank you very much, Rajan. So, and I'll probably take one more question. We have a few more minutes. Shakya Sujata is asking that as accountants has very less hope in NSW, is it good idea to study masters in teaching to gain PR from NSW? Yes, Shakya, I guess, see, most of the accountants actually, when Tejas was talking about accountants, I would also recommend that people should, while you can also continue to look for a state nomination for as an accountant, while you should also start building up your backup plan. So let's say you can probably try and study something else, whether it's teaching or depending on your previous qualifications as well. So if you fall in teaching, you can also go for a teaching courses, or you can go for social work if you are able to secure an admission. You can also go for, if you have a 485 visa, you can also go for a diploma in nursing, let's say, for example, in South Australia or Canberra or some other locations where the state nomination is easily available for those occupations. Yes, you definitely should study something else as a backup, but I'm not saying that you should just leave hope on accounting. So I would run 2 profiles at the same time, accountants already, and I'm studying Masters of Teaching. So in case if my accountant invite comes in through any of the state nomination program, I'll take that. If not, then I'll complete my study.
So the eligibility, like how?
So yes, so that's all for today, I guess. Thank you very much, guys, everybody, to for joining in today. So thank you very much, Tejas, for being a host today.
Thanks, Vaibhav.
Thank you very much, Rajan, for providing information about Western Australia state nomination as well.
Thank you.
So guys, who is watching, obviously we'll be keep posting our state nomination updates as we get more updates from individual states. We're expecting some updates from Department of Immigration South Australia next week or week after. Because I think pretty much only the South Australia is the state which has not announced the state migration program for rest of the financial year. So a lot of people are waiting for that update as well. So as soon as we have information on that, we'll keep you all posted, and also from each and every state nomination point of view as well. Obviously, Kunal will have some more updates from Victoria once they announce their migration program. January's invitation around 21st, 22nd of January as well. So we'll do another Facebook Live around that time. With just some of the statistics, who got invited, at what points, what kind of profiles, just to keep you guys updated as well. And I hope this session was useful for you. Keep posting your comments on our section. One of our migration agents will help you out with the reply to those comments. Thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much, Vaibhav, Rajan, Kunal, and Malay. I wish you all a very happy weekend. Let's catch up again sometime soon.
Thank you.